Watkins Glen, a quaint village nestled among innumerable falls along the Finger Lakes region in the heart of New York wine country. The town was made famous for the road races held along the village's main street in the late 40s and 50s, which eventually made their way to the 3.4-mile circuit that is Watkins Glen. The Glen has played host to many racing series, including Formula One and the United States Grand Prix. But this weekend, the Ferrari Challenge North America has descended upon this iconic track for the fourth round of the 2024 championship season. Who will master this old-school circuit and emerge victorious from the weekend? Only time will tell. How beautiful is this? Hello everyone, welcome to our qualifying session, our first on-track action of the day. This is round 4 of the Ferrari Challenge North America for 2024. What a beautiful backdrop. First time I've been here, and therefore I'm inspired by it, and still really rather gobsmacked by the beauty that surround this really rather iconic circuit here. And we're about to get the 488 cars out on track for their qualifying session. So halfway point of our 2024 calendar. As you can see from here, we head off to the Sonoma Raceway in August, then the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, and then all roads lead to the Emilia-Romagna region of Italy for the Finale Mondiale in Imola. That comes mid-October, so we're very much looking forward to that, but there's a lot of racing to be done before we get there. So this Watkins Glen track, iconic, I mentioned, and there's a reason for that. It is just bathed in beauty all around the track. Fantastic place for round 4. So the track itself is 5.43 kilometers, but 3.37 miles is what we prefer. 11 turns, 4 of them left-handers, and 7 of them are right-handers, quite undulating as well. And yeah, we'll find out a bit more about the track in due course. So it's unseasonably warm here in this region, and the sunshine is absolutely glorious. When it breaks through the mist and cloud, track temperature at the moment we have 32 degrees, and already this morning 26 degrees of air temperature. Just a little flutter of 4 kilometers per hour of wind. So I keep saying that word, iconic. Tony Verlander, Ferrari brand ambassador, alongside me. You've raced here many times, and this is an awesome track.
Good morning, Dave. Driver's track, a nice flow, a lot of high-speed sections on this track, and this track really suits Ferrari cars. Even at my time in the multi-class racing, Ferrari always had a really good balance in here, and we managed to do good results. So for sure, these 488 Challenge and 296 Challenge cars is a joy to drive here.
Thank you very much, Tony Verlander. And, of course, Tony and myself, just part of the presentation team. Delighted to say down there in the pit lane, in the sunshine, the early morning sunshine, Amanda Busick, good morning.
Hey, Dave, and yeah, we're going to be following storylines all day today. You were talking about the heat and being unseasonably warm up here at Watkins Glen this time of the year. This is probably the biggest reprieve that drivers and teams are going to have today here in qualifying. So maybe some of the fastest lap times we'll see of the day. As you mentioned, we're going to kick off with that 488 qualifying. You see Jason McCarthy behind me. He's doing a little double duty here this weekend, but he has had some of those fastest laps here in 488. But Dave, I know it's been about 8 months since we've seen each other, but there is nothing like walking into a racetrack on race day morning. And as we get qualifying going, this is the prize. this is what we're after here today. So, Dave, I'll be over by Victory Lane, where people are also going to want to see for 6 of these. Look forward to hanging out with you for 90 minutes.
Oh, bless you. Great to be with you once again, Amanda. Yes, the Roadiform Pole Position Award is just one of the incentives, if you will, from qualifying, because, of course, qualifying carries an additional point as well, as we see Mark Musso making his way out onto the track. You mentioned there, Amanda, Jason McCarthy. I was talking to Jason yesterday. And very interestingly, Tony, I was saying, how difficult is it to swap? Because the double duty that he does, racing in the 488s and also in the 296s. And he said, you know what, at the beginning, Dave, it was a real struggle. Really difficult to get my head around how the cars are so different. And the very different discipline you have to adopt to get the best out of each of these cars. Of course, the 488 car has been such a phenomenally successful car, and as we watch Massimo Perina, who really is something of a star in these and has made a real dent on the Ferrari challenge in a positive way, I can assure you. But yeah, just proving that it's not so easy to swap from one car to another, Tony. And Jason actually is now beginning to get the best of both.
Yeah, it is true. It's quite. You need to be really alert. You need to be ready to go between the different race cars. I did it in the past between WEC and IMSA race in Sebring, and it was a surprise for me. From the GTLM car, go to the GT3 car during the weekend. So it almost takes time both ways. So you get yourself ready with the 488, and then you jump into the 296, and then you need to zero again, coming back to the 488. So braking is different, the handling of the car is different, even how to warm up the tires in this qualifying. There is a difference between these two cars, and tire compounds are different. So Pirelli has done a new tire for the 296. So there's a lot of things to keep in mind when you keep changing between the two cars.
How much pressure is on these drivers as we see Michael Porter now, the Ferrari of Seattle driver, his first exploratory laps here on the Watkins Glen circuit in being under timed conditions. Yeah, how much pressure is on these drivers now? Because the qualifying session, short, sharp, merely 10 minutes, Tony, to get the best out of these cars and to get the best out of yourself and also propel yourself as high up the order of the grid as you possibly can. It's I often use the expression dash for cash. It really is very much like that, Tony, because you were mentioning just before we come on the air, any little incident that happens in the qualifying session, that can have a real impact. And, I would suggest that probably for a number of these drivers, getting out there and banking an early lap is pretty important.
Yeah, timing is crucial. So obviously drivers come from the practice sessions the days before Saturday qualifying. So you are well prepared with your driving, but now it's up to the timing. You can't have yellow or red flags with the qualifying. It's really sharp 10-minute session. So we see all of the cars, or most of the cars at least, on track, and there's a lot of space as well, so you want to do a clear lap as well. So timing is crucial, and posting that lap time early in the session, it's important.
Okay, so just about all cars are out there on the track right now. Now, traffic shouldn't be too much of a problem when it comes to this Ferrari Challenge North America 488 Pirelli qualifying, because there are some 6 cars out there that have got to set their fastest lap time. Of course, when it comes to later on in the sessions, which we'll be delighted if you join us for all of them, track space is going to become altogether more difficult to find. So we run the clock on Massimo Perina then, the Ferrari of Seattle driver of car number 326, he's been unbeaten thus far this season. And of course he wants to maintain that record if he possibly can. He's been run close by the likes of Jason McCarthy and Mark Musso. But when it comes to the checkered flag, that all-important checkered flag, it is Massimo Perina that has really delivered. And he has taken to the Ferrari Challenge like the proverbial duck to water, and posts an early 151.733. 151.733, that gives us our first benchmark to take a look at. But the clock is oh so important in terms of the lap time, but it's oh so important in terms of the duration of this session, because already within 30 seconds we will have had the first 5 minutes of this qualifying session done and dusted, as Michael Porter now goes to the top of the chart, having bested Massimo Perina by around about 5/10. We're expecting all the cars to be fairly close within just a couple of tenths each other as we look at Logan Broughton right now, and I think perhaps the Watkins Glen track, Tony, from my point of view, is a little bit more undulating than I expected. It kind of rolls through the topography of the countryside, doesn't it?
Yeah, there's nice elevation changes, and this is one of those tracks like you feel like the design and the layout of the track is always been the same, and this is the way it's supposed to be. And it's a very nice track to drive. A lot of corners with a long radius, so you need to go early on throttle. You need to trust the race car even before the apex of the corner and open the throttle, because braking and cornering is very important, but it's also the exit of the corner, so it's very crucial. And I think Massimo Perina's opening lap, he was a little bit warming up the tires still.
Okay.
He was leaving a lot of margin to the outside curbs and everything, so I think the next lap will be when everything is ready for him, and let's see where Massimo is going to end up in classification.
Well, Jason McCarthy has clearly got it all together right now, and he goes to the top of the chart. But it's only momentarily, because proving that you were absolutely right, Tony Verlander, Massimo Perina has now taken 8.5 tenths out of the previous best time from Jason McCarthy. So I think you're right. It was real installation, wasn't it, from Massimo Perina that we were watching. And something else that strikes me about this track is we often talk in motor racing, and unfortunately it's a talk topic which is really prevalent, and that's track limits. But here, lots of the track, you've got this guardrail, and track limits ain't going to be an issue, because if track limits is an issue, you're in the wall.
Yeah, that is true. This is characteristic also in North America. Most of the tracks, the track limit is the wall, and it's you fighting against with the speed and the control of the car. There is some areas on this track, so mainly I would talk about turn 1 and the exit, how wide you want to go. So some of the racing series is, for example, NASCAR, they allow really wide and wild track limits. Basically there are none, and you could see that our drivers here in Ferrari Challenge, they really respect the track limits, keeping those right hand side wheels on track. So it's nice to see, and this is the way it should be.
Well disciplined and certainly advised of where they can go and where they can't go by our race control team led by Todd Schneider, who does rule the Ferrari Challenge with a rod of iron, and the drivers respecting that. It's Massimo Perina from Jason McCarthy, then it's Michael Porter, Mark Musso, Logan Broughton and Gray Falva. That's the way it looks at the moment, and Jason McCarthy posts another time. He's still 5 tenths down on the time set by Massimo Perina, who Massimo's the only driver at the moment that's put it into the 147s, as we watch Mark Musso then using every bit of those yellow and red painted curbs to try and give himself something of a slingshot going forward. And Mark Musso, the Ferrari of Ontario driver, who's renowned for success and renowned for really enjoying his driving in the Ferrari Challengers, heads towards breaking the timing beam, and he's 2.5 seconds down on Massimo Perina now. Very interestingly, you can see from the graphics on the left-hand side of your screen, there is a P against the name of Massimo Perina. That basically means he's in the pit lane. So I would suggest, Tony, he's gone out, done what he needs to do, and he's protecting the rubber now and keeping it safe, ready for the race itself, because, of course, the tyres that the drivers qualify on are the tyres that they will be racing on.
Yeah, he has executed a perfect qualifying, meaning that 2 flying laps. The first one, just putting up the tire temperature and the tire pressure, avoiding the curbs inside and outside the racing line, and then just 1 really quick lap time, and he's confident that this pace is enough for the pole.
Well, hopefully his confidence is paid off, or has paid off, because there wouldn't be time for him to get out and do another flying lap right now, as we have merely 60 seconds of this qualifying session left. Here comes Jason McCarthy then. Can he find 5.5 tenths and try and best Massimo Perina for that pole position award, and also for the point that no, he's bailed the lap and is coming into the pit lane. Well done, Tony. You indicated that to me, and sure enough. So I think pretty much we are where we are. And the reason Jason bailed that lap is because the trajectory was perhaps not quite... Ooh, I have to say, he was bouncing across the curves there, Tony, wrestling everything out of that 488 car.
Yeah, sort of that bus stop, inner loop, that's an area where you can really improve your lap time. So it's the way to go here. You need to be aggressive in that part of the racetrack, really ride those curves, and you get beautiful slow motion pictures.
Yes.
Having the wheels up in the air. So interesting thing, I was visiting my ex-team, Remo Ferri Motorsport, so Ferrari of Ontario, and I heard that Mark Musso has been testing some 296 GT3 cars. So let's see what's going to happen there in the future. And Mark now is in the fifth place.
Yes, you're right. And this is Logan Broughton then, who will be sixth place. We think it's the order on the left-hand side of your screen. I'm not seeing any times that would indicate there's going to be any changes because the checkered flag has come out. Now, when the checkered flag comes out, if you have crossed the line just ahead of the checkered flag, you can, of course, do another lap. But that's exactly what Logan Broughton has done as he heads to break the timing beam. But it's not an improvement from Logan Broughton. So the deal we've got on the left-hand side of your screen with the graphics is where the drivers are going to be starting. Massimo Perina from Jason McCarthy, Michael Porter, Gray Falver, then it's Mark Musso and Logan Broughton, the very car that you are looking at right now. That's the way it finishes then. My goodness me, Tony. We were looking at our broadcast schedule and thinking, ooh, some of this is quite arduous. It's more arduous for the drivers. They've got to go out there and they've got to perform within 10 minutes. So, one lap to get the tyres up to temperature, or two, Tony, here at Watkins Glen?
Yeah, I would say two, and then after that you're really ready to go, and that's what Massimo Perina did. He outlapped, let's say 70% lap, and then 100% after that, and that was a perfect example how to do in the right way with the tires and everything your qualifying.
It's a front row that has become something of a de rigueur in the 488 Pirelli class, with Massimo Perina and Jason McCarthy going to be on the front row of their class grid. And that's been reflected in the results across the season as well, with Massimo Perina having taken 4 P1s and Jason McCarthy having taken 4 P2s. And Jason is a wily campaigner, of course, in terms of the Ferrari Challenge, and never ever bet against him, because it can all change in the space of a heartbeat. But thus far, the record books would tell us that the young whippersnapper Massimo Perina, and it's really interesting, the Ferrari Challenge across both 488s and 296s. So many young drivers now using the Challenge as a springboard to further their racing career. So you can see there the Shell drivers are standing by, ready to come out now. Altogether more Shell drivers out there on track, which means perhaps traffic might become something of an issue, but we will see once the cars are released. The final Pirelli cars, they are making their way into the pit lane before 10 minutes on the clock for our Shell drivers. So Massimo Perina then banks out another P1 in qualifying ahead of Jason McCarthy, P2. Then it's Michael Porter. Gray Falver is P4 with Mark Musso P5 and Logan Broughton P6. And dare I say it, Mark Musso perhaps out of position and therefore one to watch when it comes to the race a little bit later on today, potentially. So, as always, the storylines in the Ferrari Challenge here in North America continue. And let's take a look at the super slow-mo here of Massimo Perina. It's almost like he was listening to you, Tony Valander, in terms of wrestling that car through the corners and bouncing over the curbs.
Yeah, perfect images. Really aggressive on the entrance of the inner loop, and then letting the curb rest a little bit on the next corner, and the aggressive part is in the entry, and then just a really early throttle coming out of those corners. So the curbs are aggressive, but you don't really damage the race car if you take them the right way. And to be able to do a fast lap here in Watkins Glen, you need to use them.
Use the curbs in the right way. That's exactly what Massimo Perina did, and he is with Amanda Busick now.
Yeah, Dave, and he continues the sweep of the season. Another pole for Massimo. He's had every single one here this season, and we were just talking off camera, and you were saying how Watkins Glen is so difficult. Where does it stress your talent?
Mostly in the S's is where it starts. Most definitely at the start of the lap, obviously, and then the bus stop. It's a super high commitment track, so being able to string it all together into a lap like that is pretty special, and especially doing it here with a bunch of family and friends around makes it all the better.
On the broadcast, we were just talking about the ability to use the curbing. Where can you really take advantage of that?
Honestly, everywhere. Majority of the exit curbs, but where you're really hitting the curbs hard is definitely the bus stop. You're hitting, on an ideal lap, 3 of the 4, but everywhere you're using a lot of the curbs.
Massimo Perina on pole in 488 Trofeo Pirelli.
Well done, Massimo. Yeah, lovely family, great team, and a really talented young driver. So, yeah, well done to Massimo Perina then for Ferrari of Seattle. Incidentally, I was invited to dinner with the Perinas in Seattle when I flew through there a few weeks ago, which is really, really nice of them and indicative of how lovely the paddock is here within the Ferrari Challenge North America Series. All great drivers, and Massimo has got huge, huge talent and huge ability, as he did exactly what Tony, you predicted in terms of, well, through the bus stop, using 3 of the 4 curbs gives you the perfect vault, if you will.
Yeah, you need to have confidence. It's late braking, very sharp braking, then you release the brake pressure and you carry the speed. Basically, the entrance speed you have, it needs to carry you through the first sequence of the curbs, and until you go on power, the entry speed needs to be the one that really makes the difference. So really impressive driving once again from this young driver, Massimo Perina.
So we'll see the Shell drivers out momentarily for their short, sharp qualifying session. These are the 488 cars, and you can identify whether it's a Pirelli driver or a Shell driver by the colours of the strip across the top of the windscreen. Pirelli drivers have the red strip, and then the Shell drivers have the yellow strip across the top of the windscreen. So when it comes to race time, it will be easy for you to be able to identify who's doing what through where and in which class they belong. So just a small wait before we get the Shell cars out there on track for their 10-minute qualifying session. We have, of course, raced at the Circuit of the Americas. It's where we opened our season in 2024 back in April before heading to Laguna Seca in California. And here we are in the New York region then at Watkins Glen for Ferrari Challenge. And this is the 4th round of our 2024 campaign. So a big number of the 488 Shell cars. So the Ferrari Challenge cars now, we still allow the 488s to race. Such a hugely successful car in the history of Ferrari's racing and Ferrari Challenge racing, the 488 Challenge Evo car, which continues to race for some of those drivers and forms very much part of a Ferrari Challenge weekend. That's a lovely shot from our drone then. Indicative of this Watkins Glen circuit, you can see the pit out where you exit, having a short cut, if you will, turn number 1 when you come out of the pit lane, which is what our Shell drivers will be doing very, very soon. And beautiful weather, beautiful countryside, and Ferraris on track. It's quite a melt of ingredients to make something as enjoyable this weekend as we are able to bring you, and it's a real privilege to be able to bring you the Ferrari Challenge North America and our qualifying session live before the races get underway this afternoon. So we've got quite a number of the Shell cars that will be out there. I'm just going through the vaults to see who won the last one. It was Gregory Hopkins, of course, at Laguna Seca in race 2, and then in race 1 it was Richard Pineda, the Ferrari of Washington driver, who took P1 in the first race. Just give us an idea of the track here. We call upon Dave Musiel to give us a hot lap of Watkins Glen.
Hi, I'm Dave Musiel 2.0, driver of the number 31 296 Challenge car with Ferrari Lake Forest, and I'm going to take you for a lap around Watkins Glen International Raceway. Here we are at Watkins Glen, coming up to the start-finish line, and I'm going to brake it right about the 400, hard braking, going to turn right, get on the apex, get on the gas, let it track out to the left. Gonna wait until the end of the curb to turn. Gonna hold it down here on the right hand side up until the end there, make a left, hold it on the left hand side and let it kind of track out to the guardrail. Now I'm just staying on the gas and going through the gears, just waiting up until right about the 400, gonna hit the brakes, get through the bus stop, go right, then left again, and then just get back on the power. let it kind of track out, but not too far, and get it back over to the right, and then get onto the gas once I see the watchtower. And then coming up here, going to be braking at about the 200, and then just not getting too wide, trying to keep it in, and then letting it track out to the right, get up on the apex there, and then braking right about the 200 again, and then trail braking it in, and then getting back on the power, letting it track all the way out on the left-hand side. Then going to be braking right about at the 200 again up here, and then trail braking it in, getting on the gas, and then letting it track all the way out, using all the road on the left-hand side. Drop it to 4th gear here, and then hold it, and then get back onto the power, let it track all the way out. And then coming up here, going to turn at the 100 board, and then let it track all the way out. And then coming up here, going to get back to the left, and then get back on the apex on the right, and let it track all the way out to the left. And that's a lap at Watkins Glen.
Thank you very much, Dave Musial 2.0 then. And what really impressed me about that lap, Tony, was I was watching and listening to the engine note, how he really feathers the throttle. He's not at all aggressive on the throttle, very progressive. Is that key? Keep it smooth?
Yeah, some of the corners, they require that you open the throttle, but you cannot go 100% straight away. And just long radius corners like this one we see here in the images right now is the ones that you need to play with the throttle a bit. The track is going up the hill, so the balance of the race car changes as well. So around the apex, you just suddenly feel a little bit more grip on the front axle. So if you are too early with the throttle, the rear comes over, so you actually lose time at the exit. So what caught my eye on that onboard is obviously the racing lines were really good, and the speed of these 296 new challenge cars is so much power. Like, felt like the straight lines were going way faster than our GT cars in IMSA and the other Ferrari cars that I've driven. So a lot of power in these challenge cars.
Yes, we should make clear that Dave Musial 2.0, of course, was driving the 296 challenge car, whereas we are watching now the Shell drivers from our 488 category who are out on track now for qualifying. And there's some 17 cars out there on track, so it's going to make it a very, very busy track for the 10 minutes that are contained in the qualifying session. So expect every driver to be vying for clear tarmac ahead of them. As soon as we get some meaningful lap times, we'll bring them on the graphics on the left-hand side of the screen for you. And almost a race going on here into turn number 1, as you can see. Two drivers getting very, very close together. And all the drivers then know that timing is absolutely crucial and critical, and finding track space out there on track is going to be probably just as critical as well in the remaining 7 minutes that we have. And we have pretty much, with the exception of perhaps 6 cars, pretty much all of them out there on track. Some drivers perhaps will choose to run late in the session and just go out with maybe 4 or 5 minutes remaining, do 2 installation laps and then a hot lap, and then consider their qualifying done and dusted, which is it's a brave strategy to take, because when you only have that 10-minute period in which to qualify, you can ill afford for any time to be lost during that qualifying session. We're watching Venslovas then, who of course has been a race winner. In fact, took P1 in the second race, if memory serves me, at the opening round at Coppa. We run the clock on Venslovas and also Eric Hurd then. Coppa Shell 488 Challenge drivers, driving cars 459 and 498, and as I mentioned just a while ago, the yellow strip across the top of the windscreen indicating that these drivers are indeed Coppa Shell drivers. And yeah, we're going to be looking for times in the maybe 147s, 148s, I would think, come the end of the session, which is only 6 minutes away. Colleagues in the Pirelli Shell category, best time came was 147.795. So we're expecting maybe 48s, 49s perhaps come the end of this session. These are just really installation laps for these drivers before they really go for it. And tyre management, it's unseasonably warm here at Watkins Glen for this race weekend, Tony. So every dare I say it, every part of the rubber that you can save for the race by not stressing it too much, as we watch Anthony DiCarlo, by not stressing the tyres too much in qualifying, might pay dividends for you come the race.
Yeah, it is important for the race to have good tires underneath the race car. Obviously, it's down to the driver as well. There is some differences with our Ferrari Challenge drivers, as some drivers really need the whole 10 minutes that is available for qualifying. Drivers like Perina earlier on, he just basically needed one warm-up lap and then one really hard lap. So that's the ideal world, but also if you do the whole 10 minutes, it's not the end of the game. You can still do a good race with those tires, but if the driver is ready and he can really take an advantage of the peak of the tire, then you can just dive into the pits a bit earlier, but it's a question of 1-2 laps, not more.
The Foreign Cars Italia driver Gregory Hopkins, who we're watching right now, driver of the 413 car, very multicoloured 488 Challenge Evo then, in the hands of Gregory Hopkins then. Love that camera, sat on the wall, giving you some indication of the speed of these cars. Gregory Hopkins will be going for a hot lap right now. That was more of an installation lap. I was watching with interest the 498 car that we can see here of Enoch Hurd. Talking to some of the teams, Tony, and some of the drivers and the teams, when it comes to race time, will choose to start the race, Tony, on lower tyre pressures perhaps than would be optimum, knowing that the pressures will increase as the heat cycle in the tyres increases, and therefore tyres get up to optimum temperature during the course of the race. It's a strategy that the driver and the teams will decide, isn't it?
Yeah, tyre pressures, one of the key elements for good performance. You might have a little bit higher tire pressure for qualifying if you are confident that with the driver's input inside the car you can really build up the temperature and bring the pressure up. You don't necessarily need to raise the pressure up to so much. Okay. It's really down to the driver, his driving style, and what you learned in the practice. Basically from the practice days you carry on the info you had regarding tires and you use them now in qualifying for your best knowledge. And one mistake could be that really high pressure, when the tire is ready, the pressure is already too high, and then you sort of go out of the window. That sometimes you see these things happening, but with the fact that we've been running test days earlier than this Saturday qualifying, it helps a lot.
Watching a battle going on here between Jeffrey Keel and Matt Dalton, and Matt Dalton driving the 433 car for Ferrari of Long Island. He's had a couple of podiums. It's been the second step on the podium in 2 consecutive races, and he'll be hoping to continue his rich vein of success this weekend in Watkins Glen. And a lovely drone shot there, which is really indicative of the guardrails that surround much of this circuit, as we look at Brad Evans then, whose best finish has been a P7 so far this season. The Ferrari of San Antonio driver, driving in the 488 Challenge Coppa Shell category, out on his own with plenty of clear tarmac ahead of him, and the cumulative clock running down on the Brad Evans car right now. And here come the graphics on the left-hand side of your screen in due course to give you indications of who's doing what. Guidos Venslovas, the best of the Shell drivers at the moment, with a time in the 151s. We are expecting that potentially to come down over the remaining 2 minutes of this qualifying session. It is only 1 minute and 3/4 left in this quali session. Where on earth has the time gone? So it's Venslovas from Magnazuski, and then Hurd, then it is Chen and Ott. That's the way it looks at the moment, as Evans crosses the timing line, improves a couple of positions up to P11 with a 155 of 571. So no one yet has broken that 150 barrier in the Shell AM drivers. The 483 car that we were talking about earlier on, Dan Magnazuski for Ferrari of Fort Lauderdale, who's probably not seen the results that he would have expected to see this year. His best finish has been a P9, and as you can see at the moment he is out there on track with traffic ahead of him. Now, he was sitting P2, but he's just been bested by Matt Dalton, who has gone to second place, and therefore Dan Magnazuski relegated to P3 momentarily with 40 seconds remaining. If any car crosses the line before the checkered flag comes out, then they can continue on that lap, and and post yet another one should they so desire. Get a bit of a draft off the car in front potentially here, and breaking the timing beam. Stays P3 for Dan Magnuszewski then with a 1:53.405. Going through now, certainly has another lap available with relatively clear track space ahead. The Matthew Dalton car for Ferrari of Long Island then, who's just ran a bit too much of the curb there, Tony, and picked up a bit of dust. That will have compromised this lap a little, won't it?
Yeah, it's the natural racing line takes you far to the right, and he just rolled the curb a little bit too long, and then the rear right tire just dropped on the grass a bit, but no big drama on this.
So we'll see then. Matt Dalton then is currently one place away from earning that point and rotor form pole position award for taking P1. It's Venslovas who currently holds that honour at the moment with a 1:51.024. There you can see the order on the left-hand side of your screen. Venslovas from Dalton, Magnuszewski, then it's Hurd and Hopkins and Chen and Orton, Blevett and Pineda and Rosenbacher rounding out the top 10 right now. Really rattling the camera that sits upon our wall then as breaks the timing beam and is just 4/10ths down on the Venslovas car. So I really rather think that pole position has been sealed in this qualifying session, because I can't see anyone that is setting really quick times now in the final part of this. As Henry Hummel then, who's coached by one Max Blancardi, who has had a fair bit of success in Ferrari Challenge and many other racing categories over the years. And Henry for Ferrari of Lake Forest then rounds out his qualifying session and remains P11. So no sooner had we started talking about this qualifying session and it was on and done. That's how quickly it goes, and proof that you need to just get out there and do it. Enoch Hurd then, who's had a brace of P5s in the challenge for 2024, and ironically finishes that qualifying session in P5 as well. It's like the fives are attracted to him. The car of Joel Rosenbacher, we can see now making its way back to the pit lane, and our 488 Challenge Coppa Shell qualifying session done and dusted, and well done to Venslovas then, who did it, and of course, as I mentioned, he was and has been a race winner and been on the podium another couple of times in addition to that, and has put it on pole position by a fair margin, I would say, Tony. You know, 4 3/4 tenths. I mean, that's good qualifying.
Yeah, great performance. We could see that the third finishing driver, Magnuszewski, he lost the last 2 laps with the traffic. So end of the lap before the checkered flag, and then also the overtaking into turn 1. So that was an example of what means traffic in qualifying. So you might have a clear space for 1 lap, and then suddenly you run into the traffic, and Magnuszewski's qualifying wasn't clear run with some traffic. 17 cars on track, so it was easy to spot the difference with the traffic and more cars on track.
And here's an example of now, no driver will deliberately impact or impede your hot lap. But the truth of the matter is that once, you know, when your car is out there, and even though you're doing your devil's best to get out of the way of anybody else, you can't make your car disappear into thin air, you know, and it breaks your concentration and the focus if you're on a hot one.
It is true, and sometimes we talk about the slipstream. So even here, coming from the SS on the back straight, you could really aim for that slipstream. But then on the other hand, you would need to have a clear run through the corners, brake where you want to brake, and use the racing lines you want to do. The advantage you got on the slipstream is gone in one braking point if the driver ahead of you is not going the same speed as you are doing.
Good as Venslovas then puts it on pole position ahead of Matthew Dalton, Dan Magnuszewski, Gregory Hopkins, Enoch Hurd, Stephen Chen, Gary Ott, Steve Blevett round out the top 8 from the Ferrari 488 Challenge Coppa Shell qualifying, with Richard Pineda P9, then it's Joel Rosenbacher, Henry Hummel, Kevin Orsini, Brad Evans, Greg Griffin, and Lance Corley back in racing, and he goes from P15 with Anthony DiCarlo, Jeffrey Kiel and Michael Merrithew not setting a time in that qualifying session, and therefore is classed as P18. So that's qualifying session done for the 488 Challenge cars and the Coppa Shell class within the 488 Challenge. So it's great still to see that the 488 Challenge cars still form part of a Ferrari Challenge weekend. Of course, the primary car now is the 296, but even so, the 488, which has been in its Evo version and prior to that, such a successful car in the Ferrari Challenge. Great to see them still racing again, but there is no doubt, having seen the car of Dave Musial 2.0 out there on track, extraordinary cars.
Yeah, I must say the ball driver in Shell 488, so Gernot Venslovas, I met him in January in Corso Pilota Ferrari on ice, and he said, what do you think if I do some Ferrari Challenge? I said, go for it. It's a great weekends of racing, but you can bring your family as well. Met his wife in Italy as well. And I promised to say good words about him if he does well. And what he did yesterday, he said, I did well in Laguna and you didn't say anything. So now I need to compliment his progress, and it's a great example that how you keep improving. You throw yourself into a World of Ferrari Challenge, don't know what to expect, and then it really takes you. And he's improving, and he has a lot of performance. And he was one of the drivers I even pointed with puro sangue on ice. I said, this driver has some car control, and today is a great example of his skills.
And what you're talking there is the embracing effect of Ferrari and the challenge and Corso Pilota, and how, as someone that has potential, and that potential gets recognized. And I just feel that Ferrari have this all-embracing impact and effect on you, where you really feel like you're being well looked after, Tony.
Yeah, and individuals, drivers with a different background, maybe in the younger age they didn't have a chance to race. Yeah. And it was something that was in the background always. Maybe one day I could drive. I would like to do a track day, and today, like we saw him earlier, he did the pole position, and then he's really enjoying this challenge, meaning that how to improve his driving, car control. He used to tell me that in Italy, he said he's always really good with go-karts. He likes to do it as training. Being a quite big man, he said sometimes he feels annoyed because with go-karts it's a lot about weight. Yes. So now being in a Ferrari Challenge car, he feels that he can really show his potential. So these are great things to see.
Well done, and these compliments from you are actually deserved, as we get into qualifying one right now for our Ferrari Challenge Trofeo Pirelli cars. And these, of course, are the 296s, the Ferrari of Seattle driver Michael Petromalo, then, who drives car number 38. Now, Michael for Ferrari of Seattle, then, in that number 38 car. Now, we're going to have 8 of our Trofeo Pirelli cars out there for our qualifying session. So hopefully, if the drivers and teams work together here, traffic isn't going to be too much of a problem for them. Roberto Perina, we've just been speaking earlier on about Dylan Perina and how well he's doing now. Roberto Perina, the Ferrari of Seattle driver and driver of car number 55, starts his first potential timed lap. And Roberto has been a race winner this season, has taken a couple of P2s as well. And we ride on board with Dylan Medler. Hard-working Dylan Medler. Rod, his driver coach, I was talking to in Portimao just last weekend, where Dylan was racing as well, getting a lot of seat time in these 296 Challenge cars. And of course, European circuits very, very different to the North American circuits, but sat down and had a chat on camera with Dylan, and he's always great fun to talk to. And he was saying, what it's all about, Dave, is the improvement I want to make. The more racing I can do, I just feel, and pitched up against the European drivers as well, it's a different set of challenges and different set of objectives for me. So Dylan is taking this very, very seriously, and of course he's leading the championship at the moment, so doing a very good job is Dylan Medler. And he is one of the young drivers then using the Ferrari Challenge potentially as a springboard to great things in motor racing. And Dylan, very big guy, very tall, but my goodness me, what a great racer he is. And of course, Matthias Kompank is another one of those young drivers.
Yes, Dylan Medler started the season really well, so you could clearly see his passion. He's very passionate about this racing, and he's really happy. He was really looking forward to the season with this new 296 Challenge car. like I said, he started the season very strong, but then I would say the competition raced as well. So he hasn't had the clearest run. There's one DNF from race 2 in Austin as well. The trips to Europe are a perfect way to improve, take your driving and your skills in another level, because then instead of racing only here in US, he will also compete with the worldwide talent, sort of. So it will be a big advantage to him to learn more about the race car, setup, how to work, how, for example, for qualifying, how to get the performance out of the car. And these are our fastest drivers, so the expectation for this, let's say, remaining 5 minutes is we're going to see the fastest lap times of the weekend in this category.
Thank you, Tony Verlander. Here's Jason McCarthy, who's literally stepped out of his 488 Challenge car and into the 296 Challenge car, which is a very different beast to drive. And already in his opening lap, he's put it third fastest. There's Dylan Medler from Matthias Kompak, and Jason McCarthy then is P3 with Dave Musial Jr., who took us for a hot lap. He's running P4. Roberto Perina, then John Bennett, Joe Rubo, and Michael Petramalo, with under 5 minutes of qualifying still to come, as Matthias Kompak now bests Dylan Medler by 4/100ths to go top. So the car that you can see center screen right now has just set pole position, but you just know that the likes of Dylan Medler and Jason McCarthy are going to be having a go at coming back here, because there are still 4 minutes remaining. A lot can change between now and the checkered flag coming out, but Matias Perez Kompak for Ferrari of Central Florida is a P1, and he is 4/100ths quicker than Dylan Medler. Dylan and Dave Musial 2.0 and Jason McCarthy, we expect them all to respond to that.
Yeah, Jason McCarthy had a little moment in the second last corner, so turn number 10 on his previous lap. So the rear was stepping out a bit, so
yes,
he had to back off the throttle just a tiny bit. So let's see if it was a balance thing or just the tire temperature still and pressure still building up. And let's see McCarthy's performance now on the next laps.
Roberto Perina has just improved to go P3 as Joe Rubo is about to break the timing beam now. And for Joe Rubo, then he stays P8. He's 9/10ths down on the best time from Matias Perez Kompak. Dylan Medler P2. Roberto Perina then is P3. And here comes Dylan Medler for the collection. He was driving just last weekend in Portugal. Has that helped him here at Watkins Glen?
Yes, he's really fighting the steering wheel. So on those slow speed corners, he lost the apex a little bit and a lot of controlling with the steering wheel. So it shows that he's really on it, but maybe a tiny bit too much. So let's see if the tire temperatures and the pressures hold up and give him a good performance.
While Tony was talking to us about Dylan Medler, Jason McCarthy goes P1 with a 1:45.015. Now Matthias Kompak has been relegated to P2. Dylan Medler is currently P3. So McCarthy has done it by quite some sizable margin as well. We're talking about 3.5 tenths. So Dylan Medler trying to respond here. Roberto Perina now relegated to P4 in the number 55 car for Ferrari of Seattle. The new order is Jason McCarthy, Matthias Kompak, Dylan Medler, and Dave Musial 2.0 now goes fourth fastest. So as expected, Tony, the really quick lap times coming towards the end of this session.
Yeah, McCarthy, we know he's very aggressive with his driving style, and more than once it's been more down to the finalize the setup, everything together, that seems like he has lost a little bit of performance sometimes in the races, but even in qualifying. But today it really looks like he's on it, and the car underneath him is performing really well.
Roberto Perina now goes P2 and has posted a time that's just 3/10ths slower than Jason McCarthy. So Roberto Perina is on it and back to his best again. And all of a sudden, Matthias Kompak, who for a little bit of the session was P1, well, for quite some bit of the session was P1, now finds himself P3. And that means that Dylan Medler, the very car that we're watching right now, is P4. So expect potentially improvements to come from Dylan Medler and Matthias Kompak. But they've got to get it across the line, Tony.
Yeah, Matthias did few laps behind Dylan, so he had a good reference, and now I can see that on this lap Matthias Perez Kompak backed off, so maybe he's cooling the tire temps a bit, and he has the final attempt as there's 1 minute left on the clock.
So Dylan Medler is about to break the timing beam. He is going to be able to go again, and that was just an installation lap, in my opinion, for this lap. And I think, Tony, you're absolutely right that Matthias is going to do exactly the same. This is Dave Musial Jr., currently 5th fastest. Is he on an improvement trajectory from P5? Well, he certainly looks quick, and you would rule nothing out from Dave Musial 2.0.
Yeah, I think he comes into the pits now. So he backed off. He can see the
Well
progress of the lap time, and he tried until the second last corner, like you well spotted, but then he saw that he wasn't improving. So I think it's again a matter of saving those tires for the race.
Yes, he saw the delta was not going to be achieved and therefore backed out of it. And sometimes you have to be brave and make those decisions rather than compromise the rubber of your car. Roberto Perina then, who's currently second fastest in the number 55 car. But here is Matthias Kompang, who we know is on a hot lap. And if the delta is giving him the opportunity to improve, he will stick with the lap. And he is currently P3, so it would be a second row start in Ferrari Challenge Trofeo Pirelli. Dylan Medler is currently fourth fastest. We're running the clock on Dylan Medler as well, so it's Kompang and Medler, the two that we are watching, are either going to wrestle away the Jason McCarthy time of 1:45.015. That's the target time. That's the time that they've got to beat. Here comes Kompang right now. I think, for my money, Dylan Medler has bailed this lap, because he doesn't seem to be as quick as he once was. So is that going to impact Matthias Kompang, who, like a hard charger right behind for Ferrari of Central Florida, or have we got, I think Kompang has done as well. So we have got the order, and for Jason McCarthy, it's going to be a very, very well-earned pole position. There are still drivers out there trying to improve, of course, and using every single centimetre of the tarmac they can, as heading towards the timing beam right now, and well, there's no change to the order, so I think we are where we are with Jason McCarthy ahead of Roberto Perina. Good quality, Roberto. Then Matthias Kompang, then Dylan Medler, then Dave Musial 2.0 ahead of John Bennett, Joe Rubo, and Michael Petromalo. But Jason McCarthy then in the number 11 car, hot foot from a 488 challenge car into the 296, which is a completely different animal to drive. Just by brake-by-wire alone is one of the features of the 296 challenge car, and he has delivered an awesome lap.
Yeah, this is very tight qualifying session as we expected, but something really gave me an idea with the McCarthy's driving. So the lap before he posted the pole lap, he was already on it, but the tires were not ready yet, and he was still quite aggressive. And the lap after, we could see the 1:45 lap time, and great driving. And his aggressive driving style suits this racetrack. So well done for him.
Thank you, Tony. Well done to the previous pole position in the session before this one that was good, as Venslovas, who's with Amanda Busick.
He just told me off camera, do I need to say how lucky I was? But we know that that is not the case. Curtis, your first pole of the season. What went right for you today in qualifying?
Driving the car was right. We played with the car through the whole week, and finally we got it. So happy to be here, and yes, looking forward to tomorrow, repeating that.
You told me you just started Corsa Pelota in March, already on track into competition. Now that we turn into race mode, how do you defend here at Watkins Glen?
Trying to be the fastest. That's easy to defend if you're fast, but we're gonna see. So very, very fun track and very fast track, and not forgiving. Definitely not forgiving.
Thank you, Curtis. Very honest in his strategy today, Dave.
You're right there, and well, Gerdas, Tony saw the talent in Gerdas earlier on, and here's the result from our Trofeo Pirelli qualifying that we've just watched, with Jason McCarthy P1 with a 1:45.015, a full 0.3 ahead of Roberto Perina P2, Matthias Perez Kompang P3. Dylan Medler will go from the second row. He's P4 ahead of Dave Musial 2.0, John Bennett, Joe Rubo, and Michael Petromalo. Those are our Trofeo Pirelli qualifying results from the Trofeo Pirelli qualifying session. The Pirelli AM drivers will be out next. And super slow-mos then of... Now this, Tony, is an indicative of just how hard you have to work.
Yeah, these are great images from the bus stop, also called at the inner loop on the official track map, and you really need to ride those curbs, and you can see the confidence that McCarthy has, so he can really place the race car in the right places, carrying a lot of speed into the bus stop, and really great to see those images. And those racing lines you use with every type of race car here, so from prototypes to GT cars and also with the Ferrari Challenge cars.
Thank you, Tony Verlander. Jason McCarthy was absolutely determined for Wide World Ferrari, and he delivered, and he is with Amanda Busick right now.
I was first in practice, won.
Jason McCarthy holding another plaque yet again this season, and it seems like this 296 platform is just really coming around to you, Jason. Now we switch into race mode. I know you're looking for your first checkered flag in the 296. What happens to get that done?
I just got to stay focused. I have a really good car, 111. Competition has, give me the best setup I can, working with the engineers and my other members of the team, my coach. So the car feels good. The 48 feels really good too, but sometimes all you can do is what you can do, right? And sometimes you're not the fastest car out there. But I got a good car, so I just got to stay focused and looking forward to it.
Dave was talking a little bit on the broadcast about your transition from the 488 to the 296 throughout the weekend. Is that becoming second nature at this point, or still a little bit of a transition?
Yeah, it's becoming a lot easier. The braking in this 296 now, the ABS is better, so I'm not getting the issues I was getting before. And it's getting pretty easy to go back and forth. I'm keeping TC off all the time, and
Sadly, we lost Jason. That was something he was telling me yesterday, actually, Tony, is the very, very different nuances you have with the braking of these cars. And that's where he felt he was making errors earlier on in the season by being perhaps just a bit too hard on the brakes and the ABS reacting more determined than he expected it to.
Yeah, these race cars, like you mentioned, and also Jason mentioned, we do have ABS, but it doesn't mean that you can push the brake pedal as hard as you can, going over 100 bar on the pedal, meaning that's just performance. Like going too hard into the ABS, it actually makes the braking distance longer.
Right.
You lose the corner and you cannot stay on the right racing line, so you lose performance in braking if you don't operate it in the right way. So there is still a balance between the pressure applied on the pedal, and even if you have ABS, it doesn't do all the work for you in the right way. So you need to balance yourself in a way that, yes, aggressive braking, you can trust that you won't have the front wheels locking, but at the same time you cannot run into the ABS for too long time.
As we watch our Trofeo Pirelli AM drivers get that out there on track right now, this is why we have someone like Tony Verlander alongside us, because I feel now, having listened to everything that Tony has said, that I could jump into a racing car and actually should know what I should be doing. I'd make a complete Horlicks of it, but there we are. Here's Brian Cook then. He is one of our Trofeo Pirelli AM front runners. There's no question about that. He's had 3 wins this season. However, things didn't go all his way at the last round, which of course was at the circuit Gilles Villeneuve in Montreal. He'll be wanting to get his trajectory back in the right way again this weekend, and we'll see if he can do that. Like all the qualifying sessions here at Watkins Glen for Ferrari Challenge North America for 2024, just 10 minutes on the clock and 11 cars out there. It's going to be a busy, short, sharp session, and delighted to welcome Frank Szczesniak, who was driving in the 488 challenge up until this weekend. Has got his 296 now, and he's out there on track for qualifying. And Frank Chang as well is another one of the drivers out there on track. John Horsch as well, and I've been really impressed. I was speaking to John Horsch yesterday, really impressed with his craftsmanship so far this season, and I think it's fair to say he's pretty pleased with his progress. He said that Lady Luck hasn't always been on my side, Dave, but his best results has been 3 P6 positions. And the Ferrari of Vancouver driver, I think he's quite rightly feeling that he should have had a richer vein of success were Lady Luck not to have befallen him in the wrong way so far this season. Perhaps this weekend things will all go in a completely different direction for John Horsch. Qualifying will be our first telling of how good he is getting around this Watkins Glen track. So first timed lap with John Horsch then, as he breaks the timing beam with a 1:47.329. So it's P1 for John at the moment, though we are expecting potentially for the times to come down from some of the other drivers, as Sebastian Mascaro's gone second fastest, and the number 66 car of Brad Falva then, whose best finish this season thus far came in the opening race of our campaign for 2024, as he took a P5 in Cota. and he breaks the timing beam now to go 4th fastest. So the order on the left-hand side of your screen is John Horsch, Sebastian Mascaro, Michael Mathis, Brad Falber, and then Jay Logan, expecting to see good things from Tony Davis, the Continental Autosports driver in Ferrari Challenge Trofeo Pirelli Am. Big ding-dong battle, if you like, in terms of points haul going on between Tony Davis and Brian Cook, which is oh so enjoyable for us race fans to enjoy. So we'll see what Tony Davis can do. And Tony then comes here perhaps with a rich vein of confidence. Tony, having taken 2 wins at Montreal, what does it give you as a racing driver when you know that last time out competitively you were so successful? Does it give you some 100s?
It gives you confidence, it gives you the trust with the car and the team. In Montreal, the conditions were quite tricky, but on the other hand, different track, different story. You always need to start the practice session with the same discipline, go through the things you need to do with the setup of the car, have a good clear feedback with your team. You need to have the head in the right place, meaning that the concentration needs to be in the right level, that you can still do the work and the steps towards today's qualifying in the right way. Don't get too hungry. You need to be patient in the right way, and not always the race car is perfect out of the trailer. So you need to be ready to get the information while you're driving and give it to the team as well. So those are the things that are the very important elements when you prepare for a race.
The patience of the Ferrari of Central Florida driver Sebastian Mascaro has paid off as he goes to the top of the chart. P1 at the moment. Jay Logan improves as well. So it is Mascaro from Horsch, and then it's Michael Mathis. And Jay Logan we ride on board with right now, currently P9. And Brad Falber has also improved, as has Frank Chang. Brian Cook is currently 4th fastest. We see Tony Davis P11 at the moment. Expect that to change in the next 3.5 minutes as you thread your car through the guardrails here. And through that particular turn, it looks really, really close when you're running at the speeds you are on these fantastic cars. As Omar Balkasoon goes 3rd fastest now. Omar Balkasoon then doing a great job. And Frank Szczesniak up to P7. The number 3 car is driven by Brian Cook. Here he is, currently P8. So Brian Cook then for Ferrari of Seattle, the livery that pays homage, of course, to the hypercar, which I should mention the fact that, of course, endurance racing continuing this weekend as well, down there in Sao Paulo in Brazil.
Ferrari comes from a really, really great performance at Le Mans. The championship is now in the WEC Hyperclass. It's wide open. Le Mans is valid for double points, so Ferrari is back in the game, having struggled a bit before Le Mans, and now, like I said, this very tight battle for winning both drivers and manufacturers championship, and Ferrari's on it.
Good luck to them, all the guys down there, and well done to Brian Cook, who has posted a time of 1:46.652, which is a 10th quicker than Sebastian Mascaro, who, as you can see, brings his car into the pit lane. He feels that he has done enough and done all that he can, and therefore wants to conserve his Pirelli rubber. Here comes Tony Davis. Now, Tony is on an improvement trajectory. He currently sits there P7, so the Continental Autosports driver Tony Davis then make that P8 right now, as Michael Mathis has gone quicker, and there are improvements throughout. And here is the driver of car number 1, Frank Szczesniak then. Beautiful looking 296 challenge car from Frank Szczesniak. It's Cook from Mascaro from Horsch. They are the top 3 at the moment, with 1 3/4 minutes remaining as Tony Davis, it's P4. He's 2.5 tenths down, and knowing Tony as I do, he will give it another lap and hope that the next one is the one where he can really trouble the front row of Cook and Mascaro. Of course, it is a provisional front row, because until the checkered flag is out and every car has done its running, then the qualifying order is not settled at all. Also trying to improve is John Horsch, who in the early stages of the qualifying session was on the top step of the virtual podium. But for now, John Horsch finds himself in P4, the Ferrari of Vancouver driver. Frank Chang then with that great lap. He puts it P2 and puts himself between Cook and Mascaro. John Horsch has decided that he has done everything that he can do in this qualifying session. So our eyes are still on Tony Davis, who we suspect is trying to improve. So these are the Trofeo Pirelli AM drivers and their final running in this qualifying session. We've still got 33 minutes remaining on the 33 seconds, I should say, remaining on the clock as Jay Logan for Boardwalk Ferrari, who we ride on board with right now. It's P11, and target time then is not going to be achieved by Jay Logan, but he does improve one place and goes to P10. John Horsch and Sebastian Mascaro have come into the pit lane. Every other driver is still out there, including Dave Musial, who's down there P9 at the moment, and he'll be hoping to go one better. Saw him at breakfast this morning, had a quick word. P9 for Dave Musial. He won't be happy with that as he heads towards breaking the timing beam now. And by 7/100ths, he's not improved. And that's it. Dave cannot go again because the checkered flag was out when he crossed the line. And here is Tony Davis, who to my mind doesn't look like he's at racing speed for Tony Davis, the Continental Autosports driver. And that means it's going to be a P5 start for Tony Davis, which is not where he would want to be. Brian Cook, he rounds out his final lap and doesn't improve on his previous best time, but it is enough to give him P1 at the moment. Frank Chang potentially still improving, but very surprised that Tony Davis, for whatever reason on that lap, he felt that the improvement wasn't there, so he's had to settle for P5. And for Brian Cook then, it is going to be P1 at the conclusion of this Trofeo Pirelli AM qualifying session. Still the Coppa Shell cars to come out for their qualies as well, so best lap, 1:45.938 from Brian Cook for Ferrari of Seattle. That's quicker than at least 3 of the Trofeo Pirelli drivers, Tony. So a very creditable performance from Brian Cook.
Yes, very, very strong performance. You could see that the confidence he has with his race car and the performance was not a coincidence. So great results so far this year, and he confirms his performance. And like you said, he beats 3 of the Pirelli drivers as well.
How hard is it, Tony, when the last round at Montreal, it didn't go Brian's way? How difficult is it as a racing driver and a successful racing driver like yourself? How do you pick yourself up from results that you feel were not reflective of your ability?
You just need to stay focused, back to basics, keep doing all over again the same stuff that was bringing the success earlier in the season. If you do many weekends, some of them will not go your way. There is a chance for some technical issues, even driver errors, some things that not really depend on your driving. Some other driver makes mistakes at the start. So it is a sequence of many things, and you just need to keep doing the same things you've done in the past, and then the results will come back to you.
As the great soul singer said, the king of James Brown, who said, just keep on doing what you are doing and make it funky. Okay, right, let's take a look at the results then. Brian Cook then, the best of our Trofeo Pirelli AM drivers. Frank Chang, P2. Sebastian Mascaro, P3. Great qualifying from John Horsch. Well done, John, P4. Then it was Tony Davis and Brad Falver, Omar Balkasoon and Michael Mathis. They round out the first 4 rows of our Trofeo Pirelli AM qualifying, ahead of David Musial, Jay Logan, Frank Szczesniak, and no time set by Chris Cagnazzi, who had an off, I seem to recall, from one of the practice sessions. So that's the reason behind that. And here we can see Brian Cook then targeting those curbs, Tony, probably bigger and better and with more boldness than any other driver that we have seen. He knew where to project that car.
Yeah, a lot of similarities on the racing line with the other pole sitters. So turn in early to that bus stop, shorter distance, but also you have a good run for the second corner, so the left, high-speed left corner in the bus stop. So great driving. Car is bouncing up in the air, but everything is under control. And when the grip is there from the tires, you can just carry more and more speed into the bus stop every lap.
Thank you, Tony Verlander. So up next, we have our Shell drivers out for their qualifying session. There'll be 11 of those out there on track for 10 minutes of hot rock action to come from qualifying here at Watkins Glen. Ferrari Challenge then, our 2024 calendar here in North America finds ourselves in Watkins Glen for this round with 2 races across the course of today and tomorrow. So see the cars lining up then, ready to get out there on track. We'll see the likes of Ray Acosta and Mike Luley and Rob McWilliams, Eric Marston, Lisa Clark, Jan Bernier, Bruce Cleveland, Chuck Whittle, Mitchell Green, John Viscap and Osvaldo Gallo, who will all be out there to try and master this really rather wonderful 3.37 mile Watkins Glen track. 11 turns, 4 of them are left-handers, 7 of them are right-handers, and there's plenty of curves, as we saw from Brian Cook, for you to be bouncing across and just launching your car to get the perfect trajectory, particularly into that bus stop chicane, which has been wonderful to see. And well done to our team out there, bringing us the pictures that they are. So faultless, absolutely super to watch. So 11 cars means that track space is going to be critical, particularly with just a 10-minute session to run and to set the times as best you can to give you the perfect grid position for our Shell and Shell Am drivers. The first of them to show will be our Shell drivers, and you can see that there are some 7 of them already lined up in the pit lane, ready to go out as soon as they get the get-go from the race stewarding team and race control. Now, Brian Cook, as we saw him bouncing across the bus stop curbs then, he did the perfect lap, and he's banked another Rotiform pole position, and he is with Amanda Busick.
He absolutely does, his second of the season on pole. And Brian, I know Montreal probably wasn't what you were hoping for as a racing driver, but to come back the next event and to put that Ferrari on pole, how refreshing is that for your mindset?
It's really good, really good. And the added salt to the wound in Thursday, we kind of destroyed the car. And the MG1 team worked all night, worked incredibly hard to get it going. So to put it on pole with a car that we almost didn't make the weekend is just incredible. I'm super grateful to that team.
How are you with letting go of those moments? Do you bounce back pretty well, or are you still hesitation?
Just corner by corner, forget about it. Just go corner by corner, focus.
Thank you. Dave, I love that race car drivers tend to have memories of a Nats, because I'm not sure how else they'd be able to do it.
Absolutely right. I'm not sure. Thank you, Amanda, and thank you, Brian Cook. And ironic, we were just talking about how do you pick yourself up, and of course he's had to pick himself up from misfortune earlier on just this weekend.
Yeah, for a racing driver, if you have an accident, if you go off, the best thing is to get back into the race car as soon as you can, so sort of the mind process goes forward and you don't get stuck with the idea that what went wrong, if it was a driver error or something else. So he shows his performance, his focus, and also the abilities as a sportsman, as a driver, to from the difficult times then to turn it on next day or the 2 days after, put it on pole. So great example.
Thank you, Tony. We are hearing that there might be a delay to the start of this session because one driver went off towards the end of the session, but he's perfectly okay. So just the recovery operation going on, which is why we may have just a small delay into the start of the Coppa Shell qualifying. 2 qualifying sessions to come for our Coppa Shell drivers because, of course, they are split Shell and Shell Am drivers. Easy for you to be able to identify who is racing in what. When it comes to the races, the Shell drivers will have the yellow strip across the top of the windscreen, and our Am drivers will have a black strip across the top of the windscreen. So we look here at the just some of the features of this really rather wonderful Watkins Glen circuit. And I want to pay credit to the people that maintain this, because we go to racing circuits all around the world, Tony Verlander, but you come here, it's crystal clean. The lawn is manicured to perfection, almost resembling your back garden. I mean, this is just lovely, Tony Verlander. The pride they take in this place is extraordinary, and it's a joy to be here. So we take a look at some of the cars then, standing by to get out there for their qualifying session, including Osvaldo Gallo. And Osvaldo then driving car number 193, that on the left-hand side, as you can see, and great work by our RF crew down there, bringing us these wonderful images and their confirmation that if it's got a black strip across the top of the windscreen, like the Roger Monteforte car has, means they are a Coppa Shell Am driver.
Yeah, Osvaldo Gallo is a gentleman I met in Chile a couple of years ago with Corso Pilota. Didn't know that he's racing in Challenge at the time, and it's been great to see his performance as well. met him at Le Mans as well this year, so he was there enjoying the race, enjoying the atmosphere of Le Mans 24 hours in France, but also supporting a young Chile driver in LMP2 class. So Osvaldo is also a great example of the passion and being a real gentleman outside the race car. But then when he's on track, he can provide pretty fast lap times.
We're being told that some repairs have got to be made to the barriers, Tony, so that gives us an opportunity to say we're going to be back within 10 to 15 minutes, back with the action. But right now, Tony Villander and myself are going to enjoy a cup of tea, and then we'll be back with you. So we will be back with Shell and Shell Am qualifying in around about 10 to 15 minutes' time.
I really like Daytona International Speedway, so of course the speed that we reach here in Daytona is something unique, and every time we do a lap here is special. The practice went quite well. The weather changed a lot since last week of testing. Now it's much more warmer, so actually it will be a surprise, the balance on the race, but honestly we're quite ready, and we will see what will going on. It will be so much happening on the race, and we really hope to be ready and be fast especially.
It's been 2 weeks of intense work for us, and I think we did an incredible job. The expectations for this race are really high, I have to say, because I think we have a good potential, so I hope we can do a good job. felt really good. We were hit from behind in full Rossello, and so we had to recover one lap. And I think we have the car to do it, and we are pushing the maximum to recover this gap.
Really happy. This is the race that is the one that I was missing and that I really want to win. So I think today is one of the happiest days in my racing career.
welcome back to Ferrari Challenge here at Watkins Glen in North America as we're about to get our Coppa Shell qualifying underway. Coppa Shell drivers, some 11 of them taking to this Watkins Glen track of 3.3 miles, 11 turns, 4 lefts, 7 right-handers, and there's a really irritating fly in our commentary studio, I have to say, which Tony is not supporting me in trying to swat the blooming thing away. Right, we'll try not to lose our concentration and focus as we get this qualifying underway then, which will contain Ray Acosta, Mike Luley, Rob McWilliams, Eric Marston, Lisa Clark, Jan Bernier, Bruce Cleveland, Chuck Whittle, Mitchell Green, John Viscup and Osvaldo Gaio. Those are the drivers that will be trying to head themselves up the grid order as high as they can as we watch John Viscup is the back end of the car that we can see rounding that turn. And there is Bruce Cleveland then, driver of car number 158. And one of our tech crew brings us a... Tony, you can deal with that. I'm sure you know how to work these things. A fly swatter. Thank you so much. So as I was mentioning there, Ferrari of Silicon Valley, Bruce Cleveland, who's been on the podium merely once. And that came in the first race at Montreal this season. Hoping to be back out there as the 166 car now we can see of Chuck Whittle, the Ferrari of Central Florida driver out there on track. So a couple of laps, Tony Verlander, you advise, is bringing tyres up to temperature and finding hopefully track space that you need to be able to put in your one hopes perfect lap.
Yeah, exactly. We've seen so far with the 296, it's a front axle that takes a little bit more time to come in. So the right temperature and the right pressure on the front tires, and then you are able to really go for that fast lap time. One of the drivers, car number 126, so Eric Marston, really relaxed last night. I saw him this morning, game face on, ready for qualifying. He was telling about the fast laps he did yesterday. Still needed some improvements on his driving, but he was still confident for this qualifying.
Eric is having a fantastic season, Tony. 3 wins, and yeah, he's a really, really nice guy, and he's racing. I mean, if ever you could see a driver that steps into a car and the driver-car combination just works, we're seeing that certainly in the Shell category. With Eric Marston, the Ferrari of Westlake driver, he's really, really at one with this car.
Yes, this is true. So when he started driving for the first time the new 296 Challenge, he felt the car really, he had more confidence. He liked the cornering speed, the higher speeds that you can carry, the feeling with the brakes as well. So overall a faster car suited his driving style, and we've seen the results with a great weekend in Laguna where he was able to win, if I recall correctly, both races. So that was really, really great to see.
We're watching Bruce Cleveland right now, and just coming into shot then is the Robert McWilliams car, the Ferrari of Washington driver with the multicolour. And I love the fact that the front wheels are different colours to the back wheels. I mean, the 296 Challenge car is a work of art in terms of its mechanical efficiency, but actually in terms of colour scheme, Robert McWilliams done wonders with that. Bruce Cleveland, Ferrari of Silicon Valley then, who of course has vaulted up to the Coppa Shell class this year as a further challenge, as Chuck Whittle gives us our first meaningful time, but that meaningful time is vaulted immediately by Bruce Cleveland, who goes a little bit quicker with a 150.077, but Robert McWilliams is the first driver to put us into the 149s. So well done, Robert McWilliams then, the Ferrari of Washington driver. So heading towards the timing line now and breaking the timing beam, Mitchell Green. But that was more of an installation lap really for Mitchell Green, and Lisa Clark is 7th fastest at the moment. And Lisa Clark and Ray Acosta, Tony, just last weekend racing in Europe at the Portimao circuit. So a lot of track time, a lot of seat time in these 296 Challenge cars, and presumably you'll say to me that the more seat time you get, the better it is you're going to be able to perform.
It is true, more track time, and you improve your skills, you improve the performance on track, but also as a driver to have new challenges, meaning new racetracks, new environment. new teams, new drivers around you, this is also a motivation. So the trend to do different championships in different continents is really rising up, and these few drivers you mentioned is a good example of this.
The Ferrari Challenge was a series then, its tentacles, if you will, embrace the world with championships here in North America, but not only, because we also race in Europe, in the UK, also in Japan, and new for 2025, the Australasia region will be joining the Ferrari Challenge as well. So a lot of opportunities, and as a racing driver, you're very much encouraged, aren't you, to travel the world and interchange your championship aspirations, should you so desire. And we do see regular visitors from North America in Europe, and one of those is the driver of the 107 car, which is Ray Acosta. And as I say, he was racing just last weekend. Eric Marston has gone right to the top of the chart, the Ferrari of Westlake driver, as perhaps we expected to see, with a 147.651. That's only 6/100ths quicker, though, than Bruce Cleveland, and 4/10ths quicker than John Visca. You look at the top drivers here in this Shell qualifying thus far. It's tight at the top, Tony, with very little margin between them.
Yeah, and only 3 minutes left in the clock, so you have only a few laps time to improve, and like you said, it's very tight at the top. And let's see if Eric has some more pace after his initial fast lap. And now we can see here on the images Eric just coming out of the bus stop and going through turn 5.
His best lap, a 147.651, is the one that has given him provisional pole position at the moment. Ray Acosta just improves to P3. So it is tight at the top with just 2.5 minutes remaining in this Coppa Shell qualifying session. There are 11 drivers. Mike Lully is the only driver that hasn't yet made it out on track. Jan Bernier is the 10th of those drivers and sits P10 at the moment, as this is the John Viscup car. John Viscup is currently 4th fastest, so it would be a second row class start, if you will, for John Viscup if everything were to stay the way it is right now. The Boardwalk Ferrari driver then of car number 189, who best finished game in the last race. He was just off the podium in Montreal, took P4 in the second race at Montreal, as of course the Ferrari Challenge North America was in support of the Formula One Grand Prix in Canada. And John Viscup then breaks the timing beam right now, and it's 3rd fastest. Now he's just 7/100ths down on Eric Marston, who bests Bruce Cleveland and John Viscup by just 10ths at the moment. Here's Ray Acosta then. P4 at the moment for Ray Acosta. Chuck Whittle is currently P5. Then it's Mitchell Green, Osvaldo Gaia, Rob McWilliams, Jan Bernier and Lisa Clark. So for the collection, Ray Acosta then trying to improve still further. P4 currently. It's Marston from Cleveland, Viscup, and then this driver, Ray Acosta, who breaks the beam now, and it's a non-improvement for Ray Acosta. Perhaps he will on this lap, which is likely to be his last lap in qualifying with only a minute remaining. Here's Jan Bernier, also hoping to improve from his current P10 position. Jan Bernier with that beautiful orange and blue livery across his 296 Challenge car. Accelerates away out of the turn using those red and yellow curbs as a little bit of a bounce into the next part. Eric Marston remains P1. All drivers staying out there on track right until the very end of this quali session, as Jan Bernier now breaks the timing beam and improves 3 places. He's up to P7. And with 22 seconds remaining on the clock, he can put in another lap if he feels there's an improvement possible. And you get a feeling, presumably as a driver, Tony, you'll know whether you can do better. You'll know that perhaps where you made a slight error. Well, Chuck Whittle has made no errors for Ferrari of Central Florida. He goes to the top of the chart. Now that will be a target for Eric Marston to try and come back, because Chuck Whittle has gone fastest with a 147.599.
Yeah, it's really up to the tire performance. If the peak of the tire is gone, it's very difficult to improve, even if the driver is sort of taking his driving to a next level, but the grip is just not there anymore. So that's also very important for qualifying, to understand how these tires work and how to get the most out of these Pirelli tires.
Well, Eric Marston did respond, Tony, and went a tenth and a half quicker. So Chuck Whittle then has been relegated to P2 at the moment. Here's Osvaldo Gallo. He's currently P8. Will this be an improvement for Osvaldo? Now, Eric Marston cannot go again, but Chuck Whittle and Bruce Cleveland and John Viscup are still out there, potentially improving. Here's Osvaldo Gallo then. Is it going to be an improvement from P8 for Osvaldo as he breaks the timing beam now? No, he stays P8. And we watch the final drivers then complete this qualifying session. The checkered flag is out, and that means that no one can go again. Chuck Whittle, though, who momentarily was P1, now finds himself P2. And I would say he's completely bailed this lap and feels the delta isn't there. He's not going to be able to improve. And here is Bruce Cleveland. Good qualifying from Bruce Cleveland. John Viscup just ahead of him here. And I would say for these two drivers, the qualifying session is done and dusted as well. So the order we have is Eric Marston, Chuck Whittle, Bruce Cleveland, John Viscup, Ray Acosta, Mitchell Green, Jan Bernier, Osvaldo Gallo, Rob McWilliams, Lisa Clark, and no time set by Mike Luley. At the conclusion of our Coppa Shell qualifying session. Now, the Coppa Shell drivers, as we zoom in on the 126 car with a 147.439, Eric Marston continues his rich vein of form then, and picks up a valuable point as well as the pole position award. So well done to Eric Marston from qualifying then. Done everything that he needed to do. As you said, Tony, he just feels so comfortable with the car. The car really suits his driving style. And of course the team are preparing an awesome car for him. And should be made mention of the fact that behind every driver there is a team of people in the paddock that are working on that car to give you the best set of wheels that you can possibly have for both qualifying and for the racing. Let's take a look at the results then. The confirmed classification: Eric Marston, well done Eric, P1, 147.439. Chuck Whittle, P2. Bruce Cleveland, third. Fourth, John Viscup. Fifth, Ray Acosta. Sixth, Mitchell Green. Seventh, Jan Bernier. Osvaldo Gallo is eighth, with Rob McWilliams and Lisa Clark P9 and P10, and Mike Luley not setting a time. I remind you, Lisa Clark into the Coppa Shell series for this year, having been and having rightly won the Coppa Shell AM Championship last year, elevated into Coppa Shell. And talking of Coppa Shell AM, those drivers are going to be out on track for their 10-minute qualifying session very soon. In fact, you can see them out there right now. The all-pink car, really easy to identify out there on track, and great to see. And I have to say, we've been seeing some great racing from Jerry Walters, who hasn't always had the rub of the green, particularly in Montreal. And yeah, her driving has been really awesome. So she'll be hoping for good things in her qualifying session, which is underway. The 171 car, Jerry known as Bubbles, of course, and you can see that indicated right across the car, and also not only the car but all the team apparel as well, which is great to see, really taking it very seriously. So we're going to have some 13 cars out for our Coppa Shell AM qualifying. The Coppa Shell AM drivers with the black strip across the top of the windscreen to make it easy for you to identify, particularly when it comes to racing, which category each driver is competing in. So drivers gradually getting installed. There's one Shell driver in the mix there as well. The 102 car, not to be confused, gave Rib with the wrong colour strip on the screen. I'm sure that will be righted when it comes to the race itself this afternoon. So track position critical when you've got some 13 other cars out there trying to find track space, as Waltersdorf then, Brian Waltersdorf then, in the 111 car for Continental Autosports, trying to get some tarmac and clear tarmac ahead before setting the lap times that will generate the track position for the race to come this afternoon. Jeff Nunberg, another one of our Coppa Shell AM drivers, the 141 car, and Jeff Nunberg is been on the podium a couple of times this season, a couple of P3s, one in Laguna Seca and one in Circuit of the Americas. He'll be hoping to continue his success story and podium placings here in Watkins Glen as well. The 1-2-1 car of Roy Carroll. Roy Carroll, race winner, of course, in Laguna Seca. And the previous session was our Shell Drivers and Shell Drivers pole position award, and valuable point. And grid position number 1 goes to Eric Marston, who is with Amanda Busick now.
And Dave, he's just collecting these things at this point in the season. And Eric, you told me that was quite a lap off camera. What really stuck out to you of what you'll use in the race later?
I mean, all of it. You know, I knew it was going to be really tight. And so that last lap right before the checkered, I just sent it into 10 and 11 like I haven't done yet. Gained 2 or 3 tenths, I think, on my other time. And yeah, was able to do it.
How is the competition this season making you better as a driver?
It's incredible competition. I mean, it's not like I got pulled by a second or anything. I think Chuck was about 3 seconds or 3 tenths behind me. So, yeah, it's definitely pushing me harder.
All right, here's to race time.
Well done, Eric Marston. Pole position once again, and as he says, he's got stiff competition, Tony. It's really, really competitive, and of course, it's nice to hear him talk in real terms there. I had to send it on that last lap day. It's the only way.
Yeah, this is the truth, because you get the information where you are in the standings and where you're even losing your lap time. So again, the capability of taking your driving to another level, doing these 2 corners faster than he's ever done before, again it done in qualifying, and then get the reward of pole position. So this is all about racing. It's man and the machine, but sometimes there's also lap time in the driver. So you can, by raising the bar, taking the corner with the highest speed, you can take a little bit more risk, and then when it pays off, it's great to see and great to feel.
I was extolling the virtues earlier on of Jerry Walters, already is 3rd fastest. Roger Monteforte, though, is P1 at the moment, ahead of Gabe Pereira, but Jerry Walters, and then it is Jeff Nunberg, Steve Czech, Dana Goodwin, Brian Waltersdorf, then the top 7, the 7 drivers that have posted lap times so far. Helen Shu, and here we can see the car along that straight there before dialing into that right-hander where you take so much speed. This bus stop is, you see the corners being taken and the curbs being taken as well by Roger Monteforte. Great images that we were able to bring you in Ferrari Challenge North America. So Jerry Walters, who I was talking about then, currently 3rd fastest, and Ferrari of Vancouver driver Jerry Walters, I do believe, a bit like Eric Marston, who we heard from just a few moments ago, really seems very, very comfortable with this car, and doing a very good job in the 171 car, as Tony does his level best to distract me while I'm on the air. Making breakfast, I think. Roger Monteforte, Gabe Pereira, Jerry Walters, Jeff Nunberg, Steve Czech, then Dana Goodwin. They are the top 6 at the moment. So yes, it's really interesting as racing drivers, Tony, and of course you have jumped in and out of all sorts of different racing cars in your fantastic career, but when you find that sweet spot of being absolutely pinch point perfect with a car, and the car driver combo works as one, and we are seeing so many examples of that with our Ferrari Challenge drivers who are really taking to this 296 car.
Yeah, when you have the confidence with your race car, and enough laps, enough tire sets done, so then everything comes more natural. And also the input you're giving to your team, to your engineer, it helps them to set up the car right way. Some of the drivers need more balance in the rear of the car, more confidence in the rear. Then there is drivers that need to need a really precise front end of the car. So these cars are pretty simple to set up differently and more suited to your driving style. It doesn't necessarily mean that one or other brings more performance. It's more even to a driver to feel the confidence, and this is the experience you gather every weekend, and then it's a continuous work to improve. But when you have enough know-how of your race car, then everything becomes more natural, and you need to work less to fine-tune your braking and drive the racing lines and work with your coach, for example. When you have that experience and new tracks, new environment, even changing conditions doesn't upset that balance, it means that you are confident enough behind the wheel.
So that's the first step, really, isn't it? To make sure that you're comfortable with the car, because you're going to be fighting with the car that's always going to take time away from you. And so, yes, so the team worked their best to develop a car setup system that absolutely suits the driver perfectly. And from the feedback that the driver brings from every lap, and Jerry Walters for Ferrari of Vancouver, clearly pretty comfortable with her 296 challenge car. She's third fastest, but Gabe Harib has gone 1 1/3 tenths quicker than Roger Monteforte and goes quickest of everyone. And Jerry Walters now goes to the top of the chart with a 1:49.938. So just as we were talking about being absolutely perfect and at one with the car, Jerry proves our point and puts it on provisional pole, but that has just been taken away by Roger Monteforte with just under 2 minutes of this session remaining. The Ferrari of Central New Jersey driver has put it P1.
Yeah, again, we are seeing in this 10-minute qualifying session a great battle for the pole position. It's down to the last minutes on the clock to see who is able to take the pole position, but we can see that the standings are changing continuously, and these drivers also are getting more confidence every lap they do around here at Watkins Glen.
Just 3 tenths separate the top 3 drivers: Roger Monteforte, Jerry Walters, this car and driver combo, and Gabe Harib. Just 3 tenths between them. That's how close it is in Ferrari Challenge Coppa Am. The checkered flag is out. Any driver that's still on a lap can still offer an improvement on their lap times and therefore vault up the order. Is Jerry Walters on for an improvement here? The time she needs to beat is a 1:49.663. Jerry has got within 2 3/4 tenths of that. So Bubbles then really going well in Ferrari Challenge Coppa Am. And as I said, in racing, it's perhaps not had Lady Luck on her side. Is that all going to change this weekend here at Watkins Glen? Heading towards the timing line now. 1:49.663 is the target. And it's a 1:49.423. So right at the end of qualifying, Jerry Walters goes P1. Now, Roger Monteforte is still out there. Gabe Harib, I think, is still out there. But drivers are coming into the pit lane and queuing up in the pit lane. And I think one of those is Roger Monteforte. So that will mean then that the P1 position could stay with Jerry Walters. And that will be, if I'm honest with you, Tony, richly deserved, I feel.
Great driving. He was down to the last lap again. She started the last lap in P2 and improved, made a huge improvement on her lap time. And great driving. When you see her driving on track, it's really effortless. It looks really smooth around this Watkins Glen track, and she's really making a big statement with this, what looks to be a pole position. There's still a few cars that haven't taken the checkered flag, but right now it looks really good for her.
Indeed so, until all the drivers have crossed the timing line. It won't be confirmed, but I think Jerry Walters has done enough, and that is a brilliant lap to go P1. A super time, and it came just as the checkered flag came out. She had one more lap and knew precisely where to project the car, probably knew precisely where on the track that she could make just the tiniest of improvements, and that's all it was, because the gap between the top 3 was just merely tenths. And Jerry Walters has delivered pole position. So when you consider what Jerry has done during the course of racing, as I've said, you know, her best finish is a P3, which came in the first race at Montreal, but is probably richly deserved of more podiums than she's taken. Jerry Walters, pole position, 1:49.423, ahead of Roger Monteforte, Gabe Harib, Jeff Nunberg, and then Roy Carroll and Steve Check and Brian Waltersdorf, and Melissa Kozira goes P8. Well done, Melissa. Helen Shue, P9, Dana Goodwin, P10, then Neil Langberg, and Talal Shaer, also racing just last weekend in Portugal, and Bernard Gomez have not set a time in qualifying, therefore they are classified P12 and P13. As we look at the Ferrari Challenge North America hospitality, as we did there, let's take a replay look at Jerry Walters then, and it's really been interesting how those drivers attack those curves going into the bus stop to get the perfect trajectory through there and shortcut that as much as you can, Tony.
Yeah, looks really identical with all our 6 pole position drivers. That just the colors of the car and the car model changes, but the driving line is very, very similar. So great to see these drivers. It was great, 6 qualifying sessions, and I would say this format is nice because you have a little bit less cars on track, but you have a higher probability of being able to set your lap time with the clear track, and we take away of the element that I ran into the traffic, I could have done something. So you have a good chance in qualifying to really demonstrate what you got, and it's all down to the performance.
From my side, Tony, I agree with you in that I love short, sharp qualifying because I believe it's very theatrical. It plays into my hands in terms of I love entertainment, and motorsport is the best form of entertainment. Of course, for racing drivers, they want to win, and it's hugely, hugely important. But of course, we love to be able to really relive the drama and the short, sharp, and that's what I love about the sprint race format of the Ferrari Challenge as well. The fact that it's not an endurance race. You've got to go out there. You've got to deliver.
And these qualifying sessions, we also have a chance for you and me to follow each category more closely. If they were at the same time on track, we would lose a little bit the momentum of each individual pole position fight. So this way is a good way to show the quality of these Ferrari Challenge drivers.
I agree wholeheartedly. What a lovely shot of the paddock area then here at Watkins Glen and the beautiful countryside that surrounds the Watkins Glen circuit. We're about 3.5, maybe 4 hours from New York City here in Watkins Glen. It is everyone said to me, when you're coming to the Glen, you're going to really love this. And in fairness, it is a track that you can't help but really, really like. So a member of the Jerry Walters team off to congratulate Jerry on that pole position. And as I say, I'm just so impressed with the fact that this place looks utterly manicured. It is truly beautiful, not a thing out of place. So well done. A joy to be here with the Ferrari Challenge. And here comes that 171 car that's put it on pole position for Coppa Shell Am qualifying. Richly deserved from Jerry Walters. And these 296 Challenge cars really have delivered. It's remarkable. The 488 car is such a successful car, of course, and you just think, how can anything be better? And then Maranello come up with something, don't they? As Jerry is congratulated by the team. Good job, good job. Bubbles has done it. Yep, P1, well done. And, as if playing into our hands of the script, did it right at the end of the session. Now, you'll see what I was saying about everything of Bubbles is painted in the same way, including the golf cart. And John Horsch goes to congratulate as well. Yeah, luggage, crash helmet, overalls. The whole lot carries the same livery. And that's lovely to see from the Ferrari of Vancouver driver who's done a good job. Take some water on board. Amanda Busick is down there, and she's going to grab Jerry right away for us.
Oh, I'm going to give it just a moment because she told me off camera that she just wants to wipe her tears as she takes in this moment. Jerry, I have to tell you, your team was right here ready for you to get here, just over the moon for you. On the broadcast, your lap around Watkins Glen was described as effortless. And your development as a racing driver, how special is this moment for you?
Super awesome. I've worked really hard to be here, so I'm really, really happy. So, yeah, it's awesome.
When you reflect on this moment here at Watkins Glen, just the lap around here that got that pole position, what was the highlight of that drive for you?
Really trying to learn how to get to pace fast. That's my Achilles, so I'm practicing that really hard, and I think I've done a good job. So just trusting the car and trusting what my coaches say, and just do it. Just don't think about it, just do it.
You've done an excellent job, and your car's parked right here.
Beautiful, I love her.
Well done to Jerry. Well done to Amanda for getting hold of her very, very quickly as well. So brilliant job done. From Tony Verlander and from myself and from Amanda Busick, thank you so much for watching qualifying. The precursor, the taster, if you like, for the racing to come this afternoon. Make sure you join us for that. Bye-bye for now.